Movies. You gotta call them something. Sometimes, though, I feel like it might have been better if you just left it blank or called it like movie, the movie. Because man, there are some stinkers out there. And today we're going to be taking a look at 18 of them to find out which is the worst of the worst. This list is mostly just movies that either came to mind or I've seen a lot of like online discourse about. There's definitely way worse titles out there, but they're usually like schlocky B movies or something like really niche that nobody's ever heard of. So I tried to stick with movies that at least most people might have heard of at some point. And I'm not basing this on like the merits of these movies themselves. Some of these I've never even seen. This is purely just based on the title and how stupid I think it sounds. The higher it is on the list, the dumber I think it is. And to start things off, we're going to be covering a movie that has bugged me for over a decade and pretty much inspired me to make this list. The Haunting in Connecticut 2, Ghosts of Georgia. Just call it The Haunting in Georgia. I haven't seen this movie. I have basically refused to since the first time I saw a trailer for it. But I have to assume it takes place in Georgia, right? Unless these ghosts are traveling from Connecticut to Georgia, it's not a haunting in Connecticut. It's in Georgia. And I know you might be thinking, well, hey, it's part of a franchise. You know, we got to keep that Haunting in Connecticut moniker going for some like brand recognition. I don't give a shit. It's stupid. Having The Haunting in Georgia as a sequel to The Haunting in Connecticut also makes sense. And then you've got 48 other states you can do it with. I'm kind of glad that this one sort of fell through and made the franchise not a franchise anymore. Because I swear to God, if we got like The Haunting in Connecticut 3, The Curse of Kansas, I might have spontaneously combusted. But thankfully, this title was so bad that it never had to come to that. The pure hatred I have for this movie title is unmatched so far. This is going on S tier. Now that that's out of the way, Sharknado. In my research in this video, I saw this one pop up quite a bit, but I kind of disagree. Yes, it's a dumb title, but it's an accurate dumb title for a dumb movie. If you had never heard of the Sharknado series and you heard somebody say, hey, I'm going to go watch a movie called Sharknado, I think you can pretty much figure it out from there. It's stupid, but it matches the movie stupid and pretty much sums it up about as well as you can. Dumb title for sure, but I don't think I'd call it a bad one necessarily. So I'm going to go C tier. Cocaine Bear. And here we've got a pretty similar situation. Any guesses what this movie's about? This pretty much falls in the same category as Sharknado. We're like, yeah, that's stupid, but it's accurate. Also, this movie was actually titled Crazy Bear in a lot of places, but that honestly just does not hit the same. Really, it's a perfect title for the movie. And this did kind of inspire like a whole slew of movies like Cocaine Crabs from Outer Space, Meth Gator, Cocaine Shark. Those could all be on this list as well, but we're just going to stick with the OG here. I'm going to put this on the same level as Sharknado, so it's going on C tier. Zombieverse. Even though we're pretty much in the same category here, I do feel like I like this one a little bit less than the other two. I think just like by the time that this one came out, everybody was just sort of like, okay, that's enough of that. Like it's obviously trying to capture the same thing as Sharknado, taking something scary and merging it with an animal. But instead of it being like a scary animal, it's about beavers that turn into zombies. I'm going to put this one just a little bit above the other two, so I'm going to go on B tier. Snakes on a Plane. And here we have kind of like the granddaddy of these other movies, where it tells you pretty much exactly what you're about to see. It's simple, it's concise, and it's to the point. And you know, when this movie first came out, it seemed like a ridiculous title. And as the years went on and we got movies like, well, the movies that I just talked about, this title kind of got less and less ridiculous. And originally, this was just the working title, with other titles like Venom or Pacific Air Flight 121 being thrown in the ring. But ultimately, it did get changed back to Snakes on a Plane, specifically due to Sam Jackson, saying that's the main reason he signed up for the movie. Honestly, I think this title's kind of iconic. I don't even know if this one really deserves to be in the same category as these other titles, so I'm going to go D tier. Freddy Got Fingered. If you know anything about this absolutely ridiculously terrible yet brilliant shot comedy movie made by Tom Green, you know that it's pretty much supposed to be the worst movie ever. And I gotta say, the title definitely helps it out in that category. The main character of the movie isn't even Freddy, it's his brother. And the title itself refers to a pretty minor subplot where the main character accuses his dad of molesting his brother Freddy. But like I said, the title's pretty much there to make you go, wait, what's that movie called? Because, well, it's an absolutely stupid thing to call a movie. So in a way, they really sort of nailed it, trying to come up with probably the worst title that they could think of, and they did a pretty good job. I'm going to go A tier. Mr. Megorium's Wonder Emporium. I cannot tell you what this movie is about. I've never seen it, but it did come up quite a bit when looking into this, and I completely disagree. Is it kind of a mouthful? Sure, but it's kind of fun to say too. It sounds like you're about to watch something fun and whimsical. I assume that's what it is. If this is like a dark drama, I'm in the wrong. But it's definitely a really memorable title too. Like I said, I've never seen it, but I remember it coming out. I remember the commercials. I remember seeing the posters and the DVD covers. It's been fully locked in my subconscious for years now, and it's because it's a catchy, fun name. I think this one's silly for sure, but I don't think it's bad by any means. So I'm going to put this one on D tier. Legend of the Guardians, The Owls of Ga'Hoole. Speaking of a mouthful, this is another movie that I've never seen, but I distinctly remember the title of it. It's apparently based on a book series called The Guardians of Ga'Hoole, and honestly, that would have been a much better name. I don't know if it's because they felt like they needed to distinguish this one from Rise of the Guardians, which came out around the same time, but the expanding of the title here really just puts so much on your plate. This title just seems too complicated for no reason. Maybe they were planning on making a series of movies with Legends of the Guardians as the main title of it. But with it being the first in the series, I feel like they should have kept it a bit more simple. I don't think it's terrible, but I do think it is a bit much, so I'm going to go B tier. Wrist Cutters, A Love Story. I don't have the faintest clue on what this movie is. I don't know who's in it. I don't know what it's about. I haven't even looked at the fucking movie poster for it yet. I don't know anything about it other than this is the most emo sounding movie title I've ever heard in my life. Imagine if there was a band called Wrist Cutters. You know exactly what type of music they make without ever listening to them. And that's how I feel about this movie. I could be wrong. Could be a happy-go-lucky fucking rom-com. Probably not, though. I will say it's interesting. It catches your attention for sure. But it does seem just a bit too, trying to be edgy. And maybe this movie is edgy. I don't know. But the title's pretty damn cringy. I'm going to go C tier. Triple X. First of all, not the worst Vin Diesel movie. That's The Last Witch Hunter, but that's a discussion for another time. And honestly, this might not be a horrible title. If I remember correctly, this is about a secret agent who's super into extreme sports and stuff too. So the title kind of makes sense in that regard. The triple X's are just for how extreme he is. But man, those triple X's might get you in trouble. I feel like if you're trying to Google this movie and type in, just 3 X's, there's a good chance you're going to get, some corn. And I'm not talking the type of corn either. So not terrible, just a little unfortunate. Let's go C tier. Manos, The Hands of Fate. Do you know what Manos means? Hands? This movie is called Hands, The Hands of Fate. I don't know if it's just a translation issue or something, but it's fucking stupid. Just call it one or the other. Call it Manos. Call it The Hands of Fate. Or hey, here's an idea. How about we call it Las Manos del Destino? You know what that means? Fucking Hands of Fate. This one's not offensive or anything, but it's pretty dumb. I'm gonna go B tier. Baby Driver. Okay, firstly, I love this movie. This was one of my favorite movies of 2017. I distinctly remember going to see it in theaters with a friend and then dragging 3 other friends with me to see it again just because I enjoyed it and I wanted my friends to enjoy it. Yes, the cast turned out to be kind of cursed, but creepy actors aside, fantastic movie. So I'm trying not to let that cloud my judgment here. Name kind of sucks. It makes sense when you watch it, it's about a young guy that everyone calls Baby, and hey, guess what? He's a driver. But I can tell you from experience, it's kind of hard to convince people to watch a movie called Baby Driver. Kind of makes it seem like you're about to watch a crossover between The Boss Baby and Fast and Furious, which I would watch. Love the movie, can totally see why the name would throw people off. C tier. Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call, New Orleans. So at first I thought this was a remake of a movie from the 90s called Bad Lieutenant. And I was like, okay, first of all, just call it that. But I was wrong. This was originally just a movie called Port of Call, New Orleans. And then the producers were like, well, we got to attach an IP to it. So they threw on Bad Lieutenant in hopes people would think it was a remake or a sequel to the movie from the 90s. Therefore, adding a pre-title before the title before the subtitle. It's like the turducken of stupid fucking movie names. This isn't the fault of the people that actually made this movie, but it's still the title of the movie, and it's still really fucking dumb. A tier. The Last Exorcism, Part 2. This is almost as bad as Ghost of Georgia to me. It's the last one. The Last Exorcism. If there's a Part 2, it's not the last one. So what, you just lied to us the first time around? Really? I think the only way they could have titled this Part 2 without pissing me off is if it was like The Last Exorcism Part 2 Even Laster. But no. Let's just put a Part 2 on there, even though it makes no fucking sense. Nothing comes after last. It's last. It's the last one. It's last. It's the last. Last again. Stupid. I hate it. S tier. Now You See Me Too. Okay, so it's not a bad title per se. I think everybody can agree that the worst thing about this is just the missed opportunity. Like, the title's fine, but the fact that they didn't call it Now You Don't is pretty insane. Like, somebody helping make this movie had to have been like, hey, here's an idea. And I do know that they're making a third one right now called Now You Don't, but it's a little too late. And now it's kind of worse. Because now looking at the movies, you got Now You See Me, Now You See Me Too, Now You Don't. So it's like you're performing a magic trick and just forgot that there's somebody else there. It's not the worst offender on this list by far, but it's gotta be one of the biggest missed opportunities in all of filmmaking, just from like a marketing standpoint. So I'm gonna put this one on B tier. Rambo First Blood Part 2. Let me repeat that. First Blood Part 2. This is like the goddamn Last Exorcism all over again. You can't have a Part 2 that is also first. Like, imagine you're running a race and you're doing really well, you're way ahead of the next person, and you cross that finish line, and then 30 seconds later, the other guy crosses, and they go, hey, you got first place as well. No, you fucking didn't. Second place. Second blood. This is stupid. This isn't as upsetting as The Last Exorcism, but you're on thin fucking ice here. A tier. Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice. Okay, this one isn't like as upsetting as a lot of these other ones, but it's kind of stupid, right? I think it's mostly just due to that subtitle, Dawn of Justice. Like, it just feels completely unnecessary and just kind of sounds dumb. I mean, just call the movie goddamn Batman versus Superman. And yeah, I said versus, not V. Cut the subtitle, add the S, fixed your dumb title for you. B tier. And last up, Bad Boys for Life. Okay, this one's not actually that bad. Like, I don't really see why this one keeps getting grouped in with the other ones here. It's kind of like a legacy sequel, so it works on that front. And, you know, it's the fourth movie in the franchise. And wait, what? Third movie? Are you sure? How many are there? And it's the third. Okay, I stand corrected. This is stupid. I understand that if they weren't sure they were going to make like a fourth movie, honestly, this would be a good title for like the movie that sends them off, you know, like Bad Boys for Life. But it wasn't a send off because they came back just a couple years later and made a fourth movie. Like, how do you not see these four movies laid out and assume that the one called For Life is not the fourth one? They retroactively made this name stupid by adding a fourth movie. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. B tier. And there you have it, a bunch of dumb movie titles. Some far dumber than others. But honestly, most of them are pretty dumb. Which movie title do you think is the worst out there? And if you have any that I might have missed, don't let me know. I don't want to hear it. I've had enough of this. Thanks for watching.